I'm Jared Hall, and this is Cognitive Development, Piaget's View. It's for Psychological Foundations, Project 2. Jean Piaget was born in Switzerland on August 9, 1896, chosen as he was the most influential developmental psychologist. And his foundation in cognitive development stems from his background in biology. Many of his terms in research can be traced back to his work in the biological field. His goal was to try to figure out how does knowledge grow. His theory is exploration of why and how mental abilities change over time. Development occurs based on the child's interaction and manipulation of the environment. Knowledge comes from action. His theory is based upon the four stages in which the cognitive ability of each child develops. The theory is a solid foundation for analyzing and understanding child development. The developmental process. Children try to understand their environment around them by developing schemes or patterns of behavior or thinking. And schemes do not only apply to children, they also apply to adults as well. Humans use adaptation, which is simply modifying their schemes to accommodate their environment or changes to their environment. Assimilation and accommodation are the means by which we adapt. Assimilation uses an existing scheme to analyze a new object. Accommodation is altering an existing scheme as the person discovers a different result. And the example the book gives us is a child banging blocks together. If we replace those blocks with eggs, there would be a different result for that child as he bangs two eggs together. The stages of development, and this is what we're going to go into. They're listed here. The first one is the sensory-motor stage, approximately ages from birth to approximately age 2. Exploration comes from the use of senses and motor skills. Schemes are built upon the child's reflexes. For example, if you place your hand or fingers around a child's mouth, the child, he or she is going to want to suck on them. Children grasp the fact that physical objects exist even when not in their physical presence, known as object permanence. And on the next slide, which the pre-operational stage, approximately ages 2 to 7, greater thinking skills and can use symbols to represent objects mentally. So in this stage, there are greater thinking skills, and when they're able to understand that objects exist outside of what they're able to see, then they can start using symbols to represent those objects mentally. They do not fully understand the idea of conservation. Lack of conservation is defined as realizing that something can have the same properties even if it appears differently. For example, in the pictures below, we have a child. To start off, there's 2 of the same containers, same amount of water, same volume. However, if we replace one of those containers of water, we replace the container with the taller one, the child believes that there's more water in that taller container. However, we know that there's conservation, and the same amount or the same volume of water exists. Whereas the child at this stage does not grasp that. What leads to issues with the idea behind conservation? Centration, which is paying attention to only one aspect of a situation, and reversibility, alter thinking as to return to the starting point, not yet developed in this stage. Inverse operations in math is a good example. We know that if we add, we can subtract to get back to our original value. If we multiply, we can divide, or if we divide, we can multiply back to get to our starting point. And this is something that children at this point have not grasped yet. And they are egocentric thinkers, or that they believe everyone sees the world as they do. Concrete operational stage, ages 7 to 11, able to develop relationships, form concepts, solve problems. However, they must have background knowledge of the related objects. Conservation abilities increase, which includes volume, area, and numbers. More logical thinkers, but still lack the ability to think abstractly. make logical inferences based upon transitivity. Formal operational, approximately ages 11 to adulthood, children are able to start thinking abstractly and compare abstract relationships to one another that have been derived from available information. Formal operational stage opens up skills such as logical thought, deductive reasoning, and planning systematically. Back to the first bullet point, the good example is having three, for example, like Jim, Tom, and Sam. And if you say that Sam's taller than Jim, but Jim's shorter than Sam, children are able to critically think and figure out who rank the order from the tallest to the shortest based on that information. Ability to think about their own thoughts in addition to the ideas of other people. Design methodical approaches to solve problems. The applications. Teachers at the junior high and high school level need to take notice of the concrete operational stage as well as the formal operational stage. And as an Algebra 1 teacher, some students struggle with the concepts, and it's important to give concrete examples as well as abstract explanations. I hear all the time that they're struggling with the idea of letters representing numbers, and they've never seen it. This is the first time that they've really they've seen a little bit of it in 7th and 8th grade, but as much as we're doing it day in and day out, it really it can be a struggle, and it's new ways of thinking. Without knowledge of cognitive development, teachers are not able to provide the necessary tools needed for student learning, and that just goes back up to the providing concrete examples as well as abstract explanations. We have to be aware of what they need, what they're going through in their cognitive development. That way we can provide them the necessary tools needed for them to be successful, and as they grow and they progress in their developmental stages. That sums up the references. I do have a reference page. The reference is the book, and there was a website I used to create this slide, drew information from. But other than that, that is it. Thank you.